I want to make sure that my seat is clean, that some yahoo's not sitting next to me on their cell phone, and the popcorn is freshly popped. So if you give them that experience, that's all you can do. And hopefully they're smart enough to know that they can't duplicate that same experience at home. They can if they have a 16 HD TV and a good streaming service and a high-speed connection. Have a pretty enjoyable experience at home. It's not the same as in a movie theater. I'd like to think that that's the kind of experience we offer here at Cedar Lee, but also at the Capitol Theater in Chagrin and other theaters we operate, where people tend to go because they like seeing movies in theaters with other people who are similar in that respect. Movies. It really wasn't until I came to Cleveland to go to Case Western Reserve University and had a chance to take film courses with Lou Giannetti that my passion really, I guess I should attribute Lou's enthusiasm for film to rub off on me. I ran a college film society, took a bunch of college film courses, and I was really bitten by the bug. I was fascinated. I think it was this Professor Giannetti's passion for movies and understanding, lighting and angles and, costuming and all the things that you take for granted. And Giannetti used to tell a story. He says, once you take my course, he says, it's like losing your virginity. You can never see a movie again and not be paying attention to the things that a director is going to pay attention to. I attribute a lot of what happened in my film life to what happened when I ran the CWRU Film Society. The people in the community who were missing the opportunity to see some of these films in what I call real theaters would go down to Strosak Auditorium on the Case campus and see the films by Bergman and Truffaut, the masters of international cinema at the time.
Oh, I came to the Cedar Lee long before I moved to Cleveland. I would drive up from Canton to see it. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons I came. I mean, I moved to Cleveland, but I was driving to Cleveland like 2 or 3 times a week to see movies at the Cedar Lee, the Case Western Reserve University Film Society.
So when I saw people from the community showing up at this college campus, sitting with a bunch of drunk or stoned students, I thought, well, they probably don't mind coming here, but they would like to go to a neighborhood theater where they can go out to dinner and have a normal experience. So I thought, if that opportunity ever presented itself to me, that would be great to pursue. So that's kind of what led me down the path that I ended up going. I was unemployed, and while I was looking for my next opportunity, a good friend of mine encouraged me to start the first Cleveland Film Festival, because I had this bug up my rear end about doing something in the real world like what I did at the Case campus. And so we started the first Cleveland Film Festival. So that's really, circumstances led to the career that I'm enjoying today.
I went to the first Cleveland International Film Festival, which was probably in 1976, I want to say, 76 or 77. And I've been at every film festival since then. And it was at the Cedar Lee, for a number of years, until it moved downtown.
43 years later, with over 100,000 people attending 500 plus screenings, I had no idea when I started the festival it would ever evolve into that. My original vision was to try to put together a very small, compact series of films that would show over a designated period of time and call it a film festival.
People don't realize what a great festival that is. More than 500 features and shorts were just here in Cleveland over 12 days. Films from around the world, 400 visitors. I mean, it's a really very big film event, and the fact that that's here in Cleveland, and is, anyone in Cleveland, for the price of a ticket can go down and see a film from anywhere in the world. I just love that, and I love to let people know about it.
I love to take credit and say what Bill Gensler and Marcy Goodman are doing today is what I envisioned 43 years ago. I hadn't a clue. In fact, I don't think I could do half the job that they're doing today in terms of the programming, the variety of venues. They do a remarkable job. First film festival was at the Cedar Lee Theatre. We rented the theater from a company called Community Circuit Theaters, a very kind and generous businessman named Bert Lefkowitz had enough faith in me to rent the theater for the first festival. It worked, and then between Festival 1 and 2, he was in the process of selling all of his theaters to the Lowe's Corporation, a company that's no longer in the movie theater business. and they did not want the Cedar Lee. So he approached me and said, as I like to say somewhat facetiously, he said, "Hey kid, you want to buy a movie theater?" And I let him know that I didn't have the resources to buy a theater. And he made it possible for me by basically loaning me the money to buy the theater, paying him back over a period of time. I took over this theater not knowing anything about running a theater business.
I saw films at the Cedar Lee when it was a single screen theater.
The Cedar Lee back then, which is now 43 years ago, was a single screen theater. And the first festival was held here in a single screen auditorium that seated over 1,000 people.
The theater struggled in the early days because I remember, you know, John was trying to show films that would not come to the city otherwise. And I believe the movie that kind of turned the tide, because I think it's, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think that he was pretty discouraged early on and didn't think the theater was going to make it.
Fortunately, one of the very first films we showed at the Cedar Lee after the first festival was an Academy Award-winning film called Madame Rosa, a wonderful French film, best foreign language film, and it really clicked with the audience, and we played it for several weeks.
The film, you know, generated such word of mouth and was such a hit. I think he got a very long engagement out of it, and that actually, you know, helped turn the theater around. And I think he didn't look back after that point, you know. And it just kind of helped establish the Cedar Lee as like the, you know, the premier art house in the region, Northeast Ohio.
I came in with this idea of establishing it as the premier, you know, art theater, especially theater in Cleveland, you know, painted walls, changed the carpet, decorated the lobby, started serving some what I would refer to as non-traditional food at the concession stand, baked goods, coffee and tea, it seemed to resonate with the audiences.
I think they were the first theater around here that served beer and wine. They have an interesting concession stand. They pop their own popcorn, which you can always smell in the theater. I mean, and I'm a guy who doesn't serve concessions at either of my theaters, you know. So, you know, the important thing, it doesn't matter what you serve at your concession stand. If you're not showing the movie that people want to see, it's not going to work. So, you know, it's challenging with one screen because that means every film you show has to be a hit, and that's never going to happen. So we had our hits. We certainly had plenty of misses also. And then it became a twin. Then it became a fourplex. Then it became a sixplex. I remember all those changes. John Foreman could tell you the exact dates. It was very clear to me I could not continue. I couldn't sustain the theater running it as a single screen theater. So we twinned. As retail businesses went out of business, we would acquire space and add auditoriums. You know, since 1977, this theater has been the place for people in Cleveland to go when they wanted to see films that were, you know, either foreign films or indie films or out of the mainstream films. He was showing things that I couldn't see anyplace else, you know, and he saw that there was like a void in the marketplace here. Nobody was showing these films. He showed Hail Mary, which was a controversial film that many religious people were offended not having seen the film. And I remember John, like checking under seats between, you know, movies to make sure there was no bomb around. He was not in a good mood that day, I remember. I'm sure he probably thought that, you know, showing movies like this isn't worth all this hassle. It was a very intense experience. There were no incidences, the theater was full, and again, the showman to me said, "This is great, we're going to sell a lot of tickets," because people wanted to see what the big to-do was. You know, when the Cinematheque started, the Cedar Lee was like playing one film a week in however many auditoriums they had. Now they do these special screenings, Fathom events, you know, like operas, ballets, you know, classic films, you know, for, you know, one-offs. You know, anime on like Monday night, and you know, they're always doing like different things. So they really have a very, very diverse schedule. They're all things that we think we can continue to do and do effectively to keep people coming to the theater if they choose not to see as many movies here as they have in the past. I think we complement each other, and the fact that the Cinematheque exists or coexists with the Cedar Lee it strengthens Cleveland as a film city. It strengthens the region as a cultural center.
As for a medium-sized city, we have a great film culture. We have the Cleveland Cinematheque, which for more than 40 years is really on par with anywhere else in America, anywhere in New York and LA, and the foreign and Indian art films it brings in from amazing directors. So people in Cleveland are really well educated, you know, because of that, going to the Cinematheque.
I think the audiences today are far more educated than they were 40 years ago. There's such a wealth of information, and they do their homework. In terms of the role Cedar Lee Theatre plays in Cleveland Heights, we're I think, fair to say, an anchor tenant on this street. There are restaurants that have chosen to open up here because they like being close to the theater.
I think a lot of people who've opened businesses there since the Cedar Lee opened see the success, people willing to drive in from anywhere. I mean, people drive from anywhere around town to go to the Cedar Lee, and I think they saw that, and they saw what the Cedar Lee was playing, and maybe said, oh, you know, this could be our audience too.
We're proud of it, doing something positive for the community in general, but also we're very proud of what we're doing for the film-going community as well.
I don't think I could do I couldn't have done what I've done, you know, if the Cedar Lee hadn't been here.
I'm very proud of the fact that I have some very smart people who are working with me currently and have worked with me in the past, and of those who continue to work with me, they've been here for a long time. So they take the movie presentations, not only here at the Cedar Lee, but at our other theaters, quite seriously.
It's all about the light on the screen, the darkness of the room, you know, the quality of the sound, the attentiveness of the audience. You know, that's what you try to preserve. You're trying to preserve a kind of sacred, quiet, dark, quiet space where people can kind of commune with whatever movie they want to watch, you know.
Well, I'm flattered that you found that quote. I'm delighted that I was prophetic and had said something so articulate. It is a concern I have today.
It's just personally rewarding when somebody is, like, you know, moved by a film that you also really like, or finds it just beautiful and mysterious, and, you know, all these things that you feel the same way about.
I think it's a group experience, and it's meant to be enjoyed on a large screen. It's also meant to be enjoyed with others. So I hope that we have reached a point where I can't change what's going on with the world. I mean, Disney Plus announces today, and then Amazon, and more and more companies are going to offer streaming services. As long as people can balance their viewing, their home viewing, with going to the movies, that's okay. I mean, frankly, I wish people would do all their screening in movie theaters. That's not going to happen, though.
I'm trying, and I think John is too, you know, we're trying to hold on to the theatrical experience. So we try to get, even movies that Netflix produces, we try to get them to show them here, you know, in our theaters, because we believe in the theatrical experience. People
who like art films or films that aren't quite so mainstream, they like the experience of seeing them on the big screen, you know, out of the house. For example, Roma.
It's happening more and more. Roma was the one that got the most publicity. I think that in the last 2 or 3 years, the number of films that are played what's called day and date theaters and some streaming or cable service is, I would say, probably 20% of the movies we show at the Cedar Lee and other theaters are available for viewing at home.
It's very kind of upsetting to me as, like, somebody who cares about the aesthetics of you know, cinema. Let's call it what it is. It's cinema. It's an art form. That should be consumed. You know, I hate the word consumed. It should be watched, taken in, whatever, you know, with people's undivided attention, you know, in one sitting, you know, not interrupted by texts or phone calls or making sandwiches or, you know, or watching commercials. The best way to see it, it's the only way to really give it your undivided attention, is to sit in the dark and, you know, turn off your cell phones and be reminded to turn off your cell phones and really give your undivided attention, you know, to the screen and see the movie from start to finish the way the director, you know, wants you to see it.
There's like maybe 3 or 4 people who've made Cleveland the film city that it is today. John Ewing certainly at the Cinematheque. We wouldn't be where we are as a city for cineasts without him, and I put John Foreman in those ranks as well.
At this point, we're just kind of like fixtures, you know, old fixtures in the film community, you know. So, no, but I have great respect for John Foreman. He's a very important figure in this town. I mean, much more important than I am. So, you know, he really changed the landscape of, you know, art, cinema in the city, and allowed me to do what I did.
Remember me, fresh out of black and white.